Hey guys, it's the Mama J again, and welcome to part 2 of my room tour. Today we'd like to focus on the fish, and I'm going to go in depth into each one of my tanks, show you each of my betta fish along with some of my other community fish and axolotl, and share some fun stories about each one of them, whether or not it was a rescue fish for me, bought at a pet store, or if there was a special fun story attached to that fish. I've tried to share that. So let's get started. The first tank I would like to show you is Creamsicle. Creamsicle is my little crown tail girl, and I just loved her because she has some orange and white colorations. Those little spiky fins and black eyes just make her so cute. Now Creamsicle is one of my latest additions. She is in a 3.0 cylindrical tank. She has some cambaba floating, as well as some cryptocorin planted. I do supplement all of my planted tanks with Osmocote root tabs, and she's got just a basic sand substrate there. She's just a really fun little fish, full of energy. Next to Creamsicle, we have Freedom. Now Freedom is enjoying a little bit of mirror time right now because I wanted to show you just how magnificent these veil tails are when they're flaring. A funny story about Freedom is when I first got him, he had very much a turquoise coloration with just a little bit of a red wash. Over time, that red wash has become quite dominant, and now he has some beautiful purple colorations, also that deep red and a little bit of white tipping on his fins. His tank is a 2.5 fluval tank. He has a little bit of water sprite floating there, and planted he has some rotella, cryptocorin, and a little bit of hygrophila. He also has a little nearite snail friend in there. This next fish is Edward. Edward is one of my mustard gas half-moon bettas. I found him at one of our local Petcos and brought him home in April of this past year, and he has just been a great boy for me. He's got such a great personality, and he's just so fun to watch swim through the tank. He is in a 5.0 top fin tank, and he has some similar plants. One thing that I have found that over the years, if a plant works for me, I typically use it a lot. So I have a lot of hygrophila in my tanks and rotella because both of those seem to work with my hard water. He also has some cola wood there. Another thing you might notice on a couple of my tanks is the little blue foam pad there up at the top. Some of these tanks have a higher flow even if you set it to a low setting, and bettas tend to really like less of a water flow. So I have used that wrapped with a little tiny rubber band to hold it in place, and that's helped as extra filtration, but also has helped baffle the flow, so it makes it more comfortable for Edward. He is a great fish, and I have really enjoyed having him. This is Patrick. Patrick is one of my elephant ear betta fish, and he's what I call my spunky monkey. I just love these guys. The plackets tend to have real energetic personalities and will just zip around the tank. I love his little pectoral fins. They just flutter around. That's one of my favorite qualities about the elephant ear bettas. Now his tank is a smaller tank. It is a 1.5. Now I have used that on a couple of occasions for some of my female bettas and for smaller fish. I am very adamant about my water quality, so I do change them very frequently and monitor their levels there. But he has done great in this tank. He's got some cambaba, some java fern, and a few little river rocks there. Patrick is just a great fish. This next tank is Storm. Now Storm is also a half moon betta. He is what I consider a lucky find. I happened to be in Petco one day, and I was going through and looking at all the different bettas and their coloration, and I came across this guy and he was labeled a bumblebee beta. Now, I've never seen that particular label before up until that day, and I thought that was kind of puzzling. I've had yellow and black koi fish, which I would consider a bumblebee because of the coloration, but have never seen a label for a fish of this color like that. And I got to looking at him, and bless his heart, he was all flipped over in the bottom of the cup, and he was very pale, and he looked sick. And I thought, he has the most unique coloration, but gosh, do I take a chance on this guy? You know, I just not sure how well he's going to do. Well, one thing I found out is he had only been in the store about 3 hours, and bless his heart, I guess he was just stressed beyond words. So I took a chance and brought him home. I thought he was so unusual and so beautiful. I just couldn't wait to see how he would turn out. Now, Storm was a funny boy when I put him in this tank. First thing he did was nosedive right down in that plant. And I thought, you funny boy, you've got this yellow little streak of coloration, and here you are nosedive in a plant. It almost reminded me of lightning. And then he had that dark, kind of stormy cloud appearance, and I thought, Storm, that is the perfect name for him. Now, he has done really well. He is such a fun fish. The blues have kind of taken over a little bit on the whites of his fins, but he's still got lovely coloration, and you can still see a little glimmer of the yellow on his fins as well. Storm has a couple of tank mates. They are my little African dwarf frogs. And boy, if you have never had an aquatic frog, I just highly recommend these guys. They are so much fun. They zip around the tank and will strike these little zen poses. And I thoroughly enjoy these guys. Down here on the second shelf, we have Audubon. Audubon is a black double-tail fish, and he has just some beautiful blue wild spot colorations to him as well. Of course, he reminded me a little bit of a bird when I first saw him because of those beautiful colored spots. So that's how he got his name, Audubon. And plus, I enjoy bird watching. Now, Audubon is typically quite timid, and usually if he sees a camera, he will take off to the back of the tank. But he's been a really good boy. Next to Audubon, we have Sara. Sara is also one of my little crown-tail girls, and she has just some beautiful blue and red colorations. Now, Sara is a true rescue for me. When I found Sara, she was at a pet store near my city, and she was in really tough conditions. I really wasn't sure if she was going to make it through the night. Now, that is a situation that actually had a really good outcome. I was able to talk to the manager of that store, and I was so impressed with him because he really took the time to listen to me, to talk about concerns that we had, and really put into place changes that would be to benefit the animals in his store. So Sara is really a superstar to me as far as rescues. She hopefully has paved the way for better health for the betas in the store that she was in. Popsicle was a baby beta for me. I got her at Petco, and she was the most little teeny-tiny little thing, and she has just been a great fish for me. I've had her quite a while now, probably a year and a half. I'd have to look back at her birthday and everything, but she's a great fish. She's done really well. This next fish is Miss Marley. Now, Marley is one of my koi betas, and actually she is one of my first shipped fish. Now, when I got Marley, she was primarily white with some red and black spots, and over time the red has become dominant, though she still does have one of her black spots. Now, a funny story about Marley, around here she has a nickname, and we call her Hot Lips because of these funny little pucker lips that she has. We just really enjoy Marley. She is a great fish. In this tank we have Indigo. Indigo is one of my veil-tail betta fish, and he has just some really pretty blue and red colorations, hence the name Indigo. Now, Indigo was also a rescue for me. When I found him at a local pet store, he had a hole in the head disease. I was able to treat him with a medication called Gentle Cure, and he really turned around quickly for me. Now he's one of the most beautiful veil-tails I have. So I'm very proud of his progress. Also, I've been really pleased with Indigo's tank. As far as planted tanks, I've really experimented with different types of substrate and trying to achieve different focal points and plants. And when I found this piece of driftwood, I just thought it was real interesting. It almost reminded me of a hand reaching out, and had really nice curvature of lines, smooth texture, which was great because you don't have to worry about the fish snagging their fins on it. The cryptocorin there to the left has done extremely well. I've been real pleased with the growth of that plant. And I have a second variety of a cryptocorin on the right, a little bit of rotella in the front, a moss ball, and then there's a little bit of a dark green cambaba in the back. In this tank we have Derek. Now this is one of my community tanks. It is a 10-gallon tank and actually one of my original planted tanks. You can tell that the plants have really grown in quite nicely there. And in fact, the hygrophila that you see is the original plant that I had. I have actually used clippings from this plant to pretty much fill in the tanks of all the way around the room. Now, in Derek's tank, I also have a small school of brass tetras. And brass tetras are fairly new to me as far as a community fish. But I really like these guys. They have some beautiful gold shimmery colors. And if you're looking for a community fish that's a very peaceful species and one that gets along well with bettas, I highly recommend these guys. I don't hear a lot of talk about them, but they are really a beautiful showy fish. And Derek is one of my red and white butterfly bettas, and he is just doing exceptionally well. Also, really like the dragonstone in this tank. That's the first time I had used a dragonstone with aquascaping, and I really think I like the looks of it. It adds a lot of color and texture to the tank. This next community tank I have is Jameson. Now, Jameson is one of my half-moon bettas, and he is just a gorgeous coloration. He has some beautiful blues and yellow. Now, Jameson is also a bit of a character. As you can tell, he's checking out the catfish food there on the bottom of the tank. A friend of mine on a fish journal that I write helped me think of a middle name for him. So if he's in trouble, we call him Jameson Alexander. Now, he has 4 little catfish in his tank with him, along with a really nice crew of Malaysian trumpet snails. I seem to breed those extremely well. But it has been a lot of fun watching just the interaction of the different fish in the tank. There's one of the little salt and peppers making his little head pop out there. But this has just really been a nice tank for me. The sword plant is doing really well. I've got some water sprite there that I'm trying to propagate a little bit more. There's some grass plant and a little bit of cambaba as well. The last animal I would like to show you is Kota. Kota is my axolotl. Sometimes you'll hear an axolotl referred to as a Mexican salamander. Now, Kota is about 1.5 years old, and she is in a 20-gallon long tank. Her diet is mainly earthworms, though I will feed her some bloodworms on occasion. One one thing that's sort of challenging about axolotls is keeping them cool. They like to stay at a temperature of about 65 degrees is ideal for them. So what I've done with Kota is I actually have a fan that blows over the surface of the water, and that has worked really well for me. Plus I have her in our bonus room that stays on the cooler side. But that is something that you have to watch during the summertime to make sure that these guys stay cool enough. But she has just been a great pet for me. I really enjoyed the tours of the reptile and fish room. Be sure and check out the other video if you've happened to miss part 1, or if you'd like to see part 2 again. If you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I really enjoyed the opportunity to share my animals with you. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a blessed day.